All right, we are at week 7. Yes, week 7. We've made it pretty far. Today we're going to talk about stuff we've already talked about, these grouping commands. I'm just going to go over a couple of things. I'm going to talk about case statements today, and case statements aren't real until week 11. But case statements, I talk about at this point in time because some people may end up wanting to use them in their project because they're very handy and fun to play with. So let's go ahead and just go through this code here. There's a question on the quiz this week that uses the date function. So just have a simple quiz here. Query here. I'm getting the title, the amount, and the date for the rental date. From film, I'm interjoining with inventory on film ID and interjoining on rental and interjoining on payment, because that's the only way to get the payment amount out, because payment amount isn't here. So we got to go through all these tables to get there because there is no direct link from payment to film. So it's film to inventory, inventory to rental, rental to payment. Okay. If I do it without this date function here, that's what I get. That's what you expect to get, right? But I can add a date function here. And what that does is it just gives me the actual date. Because when you just put a date into a date time field, it becomes a timestamp, and you have it both there. You also do have a time function, so you can just pull the time out if you wanted. There is a. Is it a? Am I going to guess right? Oh, month name. If I do month name, I get the month name out instead. Okay. So the date that there was in last week's reading, I think it's in the link at some point in time. If not, I'll send it. It was this really great page on explaining all the different functions that you can really manipulate text with. So take a look at that. But I just want to start with that quick, the date function, because that's in a question today about how to get just the date out. It's just date here. Okay. Next I want to talk about here is we've talked about count. We've talked about sum. Count gives you the count of how many things are. Sum gives you the total of them. So here I'm getting the count of the rental dates, and here I'm getting the sum of the amounts. So what I'm doing here is I'm seeing how many dates are the same. Okay. And then I'm going to do this here. I want to do dates, because if not, it's going to be all weird with the time. Okay. So here I'm going to do a count of the dates, and then I'm getting the sum of the total. So here, like I have like Beverly Blanket, Beverly 299, 524. So we get the sum of all the dates, and then the count of all the dates, and it's going to give me the sum of how much was rented on that day. And I've got the same thing. Let me throw this out here. Okay. So, and now because I am doing aggregates, count, and sum, I must have a group by. Okay. The only thing that's not being aggregated is title, so I'm going to put the group by on the titles. And so if I run this, I get this booty running 12 times, and the total amount I made off it was $40.88. This has run 17 times. Now I have this command here called with rollup. Oh, this will work. When I run it with roll, does everyone understand this? How this works? I've got the sum, how many times it rented, and then the sum of the total amounts of the values of the amounts that were done. So with rollup as a command, I can throw on an aggregate. And what happens with that? You look at the bottom, it gives me a total of this column and a total of this column. So what rollup does, it gives you a running total of the aggregate columns. So let me give these things names here so you can see this looks a little bit cleaner. So here that's not what I want here. Okay. Let's do this. So now our columns have got better names. Number of times rented, total payment. So Academy Dinosaurs rented 23 times, total payment $36.77. It's the same thing, but with roll up. If I go to the bottom here, like I said, it gives me the running total of both columns. So this one, the total of everything in number rented is 16,044, and the total sum of everything here is $67,406.56. So that's what rollup does. Rollup just gives you a running total at the end of everything in the columns. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. Rollup does show up on your quiz today, I think. Let's see. I've already done that one. This was, so we got this one here. That one I've already. Oh, okay. This one here. I'm going to select the name of the language and how many times the language is used in a film. So in here, English is used 681 times, Italian 73 times. Again, using the count function, joining film to language. I'm getting how many films are in English, how many in Italian, how many in Japanese. Okay, this is the same one as before. It just, I do a having here. So here, I'm adding this having. Having is a command that you use using aggregates. And this is basically saying where the sum of the amount of P sum is greater than 1,500. It's just like a where clause, but it's a specific where clause for an aggregate. So if I run this, it gives me only sums over 1,500. And I'm doing here, instead of doing it by rental day and rental name, I'm doing my rental date. So I'm getting the date, the count of how many times we rented on that, how many times we rented on the day, and the total amounts of those rentals. So on July 6th, we rented 504 titles, and total income was $2,100. And then here's our roll-ups again. Notice these two, if you remember, these are two of the same numbers, because this is the same range of data, just put it in a different way. Okay, so again, we've already covered all the aggregate functions. We've done count, sum, average, max, min. There's a couple that we didn't do, but it's in that one page that I gave you a couple weeks ago. The one thing I want to talk about now, and this is going ahead of things, is this case statement. So what a case statement does, and this is really kind of fun. What a case statement does is it looks at the value in a row of data, and then based on that, it will give you a different, it'll give you a curated response to make the data more accessible or easier to read, or however else you want to do it, to the end user. So here's my first example. I'm just on the film table, right? I'm getting my title, I'm getting my rating, and I've got a case statement. And I say, if it's R, then I want not for kids. And if it's G, PG, or 13, if it's in one of these three, I wanted to say for kids. And anything else for no one. So what's going to happen here, it's going to give me a column with title, it's going to be a column for rating, and it's going to give me a third column that's going to decide what it's going to be in it based on what the rating of the table is. So in this table called, in this row called audience, in this column called audience, if the value of rating is R, it's going to say not for kids. If the value of radius G, PG, or PG13, it's going to say for kids, else it's going to say no one. Okay, so that's what this does. So there are many different uses for this. You know, you could, I mean, you can think of tons of different ways, but let me show you another example of case data. This is a little more complicated. I added some more fun stuff here. So I added some string manipulation here. In that person's table I made last week, all the names are all lowercase, but I wanted to make it so the first letter was uppercase and the rest of the name was lowercase. So I did this silly little string here. I'm concatenating two different strings. I've got this string here and this string here. The first thing is I'm doing uppercase on the substring of last name and just taking the first character. And then I'm taking the lowercase of substring and I'm just taking all whatever's left. I don't know the exact amount. There's a way to calculate it, but I just put a big number there because that's fine. So I'm concatenating the upper substring of last name's first character and the lower substring of last name, which is all the rest of the characters, is last name. I'm doing the same thing to first name. And then here I'm getting the age, and then I've got a case statement. When age is between 10 and 20, say group 1. When age between 21 and 30, group 2, 3, 4, else everyone else is group 5, and age groups from persons. So the case statement here is separating the ages into specific groups for whatever reason. And here you have it. And we can even go back here and order by audience. Oh, hang on a second, it's in the wrong place. Ignore that. The order by. Anyway, so. Oh. It would help if I use the right name. Age group. That should work. There. And so I'm already about our age group. I don't know if I pointed that out before, but anytime you alias a column name, you can order by. You don't have to do whatever the real, you don't have to use this, you use the alias name. So the case gives you a lot of things to play with, a lot of ways to look at things, a lot of ways to reconstruct data. So you obfuscate data we don't want people to know with something that they can see that gives them the same thing. Trying to think of it, what I want to do this.
You mean like here, you could take out the age column where you don't want to reveal the age, but you can tell them what age group they're in.
Yep, right there. Yep. So we're obfuscating the age. We're not letting them see it, but we're putting what age groups are in. So something along those lines. Yeah, we can take away someone's like age and just put their birthday in there. We could do any number of things. Like if we wanted to know, like for example, if we wanted to know someone had a home phone number, we could do a case statement that said, if and then there's a field in your table that's says home phone number, say if home phone number is not null, then yes, else no. So you're not giving them the phone number, but you're letting them know if they have a phone number, right? So like I said, I don't think this is this week, because this, and I don't remember which quiz the question, but this is an answer to one of the exercises, and I don't think it's this week, but it might be. So what this is doing, this is just, so remember this one I did up here where we just got in the, let me bring this one. This one here was showing me the language. English 168, 173, and for Japanese 146. This is like, what if I wanted it where the name was the column and the date was the row of data, right? So what I'm doing here is not, you never actually want to do this because if you add another language, it would cause a re-write the query. But I'm saying here, I'm doing select the case where language ID is 1, then 1 else 0 end. So what this is doing here, if the language ID is 1, it's returning 1. And if it's not, it's returning 0. And then we're returning the sum of this query. Okay, and putting it at the column title English. So when this runs against the film table, it goes through and whatever language ID is 1, it records 1. Where it's not, it records a 0, and then it ends, and then it gives the sum of that number. Does the same thing for 2, which happens to be Italian, and the same thing for 3, which happens to be Japanese. So if I run this, and let me run these back to back here so you can see what happens. Okay, so let me run these. So here's this one where I'm doing it where the English is the column name, and I'm getting the value of the sum of this 681, 173, 146. And over here is when it's just a table, 681, 173, 146. So it's the same result presented 2 different ways. This one here is just showing off. I don't know. It's just one of the exercises. They want you to show it this way. It's just super complicated. Because in some more advanced RMDBSs, you have what's called a pivot table, which will automatically convert this into this. But that we barely got stuff that's working in this one. So does everyone kind of understand how this one works? It's just fancy showing off.
Got it.
Yeah. And then we got this one. Okay. So that covers, so that is pretty much what's on this week's lesson. I think I've covered everything you guys need to know for that. So let me open up to any questions on any of this stuff or anything, any questions on anything at this point. Or did I go too fast? Did I go too fast on this stuff too? Because that's valid as well.
I'm good, but
okay.
I don't speak for everybody else.
Does everyone understand case statements and how they work?
No, but I can like.
So the anatomy of a case statement is you start with the word case, and that's where you're saying, hey, I'm going to do some comparison here. Okay. And then you have a when statement. So you're saying when, in this case, when age is between 10 and 20, you're going to return the value group 1. When age is between 21 and 30, you're going to return the value group 2, so on and so forth. Now, every case statement must have an else statement there, because what if something falls between the cracks? Like here, if I have any ages under 10 or over 50, I need to have some place for them to fall. So my else says to do with whatever doesn't match any of this criteria. Okay. I have to end with an end statement so it knows it's over. And then here is where I give it the alias. So this is the alias. So what a case statement is doing, it's analyzing the data in a specific, analyzing data from a specific column, and then using that analysis to return a value that helps the user of the application understand better, or helps us hide information that we don't want the end user to know, but they need to understand something about it. So the point that Philip made is, what if we didn't want them to know the age? We just want to know what group they were in. So this gives me that ability to just tell them what group it's in. So they know the age range, but they don't know the specific age of the person. And there's any number of ways that it can be done. So here I have it to where I'm not showing the rating. I'm just showing who the audience for this is. So I don't have PG and 13. I just know Academy of Dinosaur is for kids and Adaption Holes is for no one. No one should be watching this movie because it's NC-17. This one is not for kids.
Huh.
Okay. So I can say, you know, I can write a query saying, show me the movies that are for kids. And this is my criteria right here. I can show everything for kids. And I don't have to say PG-13, I just say for kids. Does that help, Aaron?
Yeah.
Did you say you don't understand? Someone, I thought it was your voice that said you don't understand case statements.
Bro.
No, was that from this week?
Case statements?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no, I just cover them now because I found in the past a lot of people, when I get to the point where I explain case statements, they've already written their test cases and like, oh, I could have used that.
Okay.
So I cover it now. And actually, as of this week, I think this is the week where I have to double check. I've covered all the code you'll need for the remainder of the next 7 weeks. Because next 2 weeks are more case statements, more aggregate functions. And then week 9 is actually indexes. Week 10 is stuff that we actually can't code in this class. It's just we discussed. It becomes more theory oriented than any kind of actual real code work. Because we talk about indexes, we talk about views, we talk about fragmentation and things like that. So
So are these like if then or
yeah,
switch?
they're exactly like if then statements. Yep.
Okay.
They're like
awesome.
fancy, they're like super fancy if then statements.
I didn't know that was possible in MySQL, so that's awesome.
Yep. This actually, the only difference you'll see if you try to do this anywhere else in Oracle or MySQL, the alias goes up here. Oh, my Z. Of all the keys not to work on my keyboard, the Z key is not the one. The V is not one I want. So if you want to do it in Microsoft SQL Server or in Oracle, the alias goes up by the case statement, not down by the end. Like I said, that's why I show it now, because y'all are at the point where you're either thinking about your test cases or starting to write your test cases. And a lot of times the case statements are pretty important for, no, they can be used in your test cases.
So when we're writing our test cases, do you want those in like encoded form like this, or do you just want those? Because when I turned in my test cases last week, but I haven't seen, I don't know that it's been graded yet. But I just,
yeah.
okay, well, I haven't seen the feedback, so,
That's fine.
which is fine. It might be on my end. But I just kind of wrote like what I would be querying. I didn't necessarily write them in code. I wrote them more in, this is what query I would run.
You will actually need to write the code for the test case.
Okay, well, I know, but when you want our test cases, do you want them more in code, or do you want them more in just, this is the query I expect to run to find the test case?
I want a brief explanation of what the test query is for, and then I want the actual query.
Okay,
So you'll say, this query is to tell me what movies are for kids and which ones aren't for kids. Boom. This query is to tell me what people have rented rom-coms in the last 3 months. Boom. You know, that's all. I want to know I want to know the reason behind the query, and then be able to run the query. So like a 1 sentence, 2 sentence explanation, and then the query. Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So, and I told Philip today, 5 to 7 test cases. So, and again, I told you, so how I grade these things, the first thing I do is I run your CRUD code to create the table and everything that goes with it. And then I run your code to populate the tables, and then I run your code to do the test cases. And if everything goes well, there's no errors. And I just run it and
Do
look
you
at it.
want those in 3 separate files, or?
Yes, please.
Good. Okay.
You'll end up zipping them all together so you can submit them. But yeah, if you do them in 3 separate files, it's easier for me. If you do them in one, I'll figure it out too. And then you can either do the PowerPoint or the quick video on your presentation. Because quite honestly, if we were in a classroom setting, we would like dedicate the last week of class, everyone like doing a 5-minute presentation on their thing and stand in front of class. But we're not in that world anymore. So yeah. So I just need like a quick 5-minute presentation of you explaining the concept of your, the concept and process of your database. Does anyone have any specific questions to their ERDs or their projects they want to discuss? Because if not, we'll have a really early night. This is the time I leave for anyone to discuss what's going on in their particular project they need help with, discussion with, and open it to the floor for help or for me.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm trying to wrap my head around these case studies because I guess it's different than so am I looking at the case studies as the person using the app?
Yep.
Or
The person using the app.
okay.
A case study is a scenario in which the user, it's also called a use case study, how the user would use the application. You know, okay. How would they take the data out and what manner would be presented? So what was your
It's a
the food storage?
No, the gift app.
Oh,
and
the
so
gift
like
app.
For my graphic design class, we had to do scenarios, and it was like you are trying to, I don't even know now. You need to get a gift for Julie or something for her birthday. Use the app to find out when her birthday is or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think if I remember, your app like records the gifts that were given. So like you might want to find like whose birthday is, what birthdays are coming up this month.
Right.
You might do like, you know, how many gifts have I bought that were over $35?
Okay. So it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you're looking at the app, I've got this is a gift giving app. It records the gifts I've given. It records the people whose birthday are, so I can say like, you know, show me like the last 5 things I bought Sybil. You know, okay. so I don't buy her the same thing again. You know, okay. Yeah, something like that. You know, show me the most expensive gift I've ever given anybody.
Okay.
You know, stuff like that. You know, I need to see what I received for Christmas the last 3 years. Okay. Yeah, it's just it's looking at applications saying like we're making these out, we're putting all these data in this database, but how is it going to be used? Who's going to use it? What do they need to see? How are we going to do it? And Pearl, was yours the database the food storage?
Yeah, mine's the food storage one.
So like for yours is like, you know, how many you know, what expires this month? You know, I need to see what expires this month. I need to know what recipes use garbanzo beans or whatever, something like that. So that's kind of it's kind of the same deal. You know, how am I going to use this data?
Okay. And I turned those into my paper, but I didn't turn code in with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything you still have 5 weeks to turn all this stuff in, so that's fine. Okay. Yeah. So I'm looking at I did grade. I have grade. Wait, no, I graded week 5. I've not graded week 6 yet. I don't think I have. I might have to look because Monday was the holidays. It throws me off.
Right. Yeah. I don't have it back, but you may have graded some, but I don't have it back yet.
I have to look. I know I did grade. I did week 5. I can't remember when Monday's a holiday, it throws me off. So I probably have to grade week 6 tomorrow. So I might be a little bit behind that. But yeah, if you just this is the point. If you are just putting your test cases in there saying, how about these my test case without the code, that's a good time. Then you can write the code over it. Yeah. So there'd be a good time to like figure out what you want the test cases to say. And just because the project is due on week 12, do not be afraid to turn it in a couple weeks early, because I'll grade it and then you can go and fix it if there's something wrong with it. So
Awesome. I was gonna ask that question. Like,
Yeah.
what if we
Yeah.
turned it in early? But okay, perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, if you turn it early, I will grade ahead of time, and it falls into everything else. I will let you fix it and redo it. I'll regrade it. My goal in this class
I
is
don't need to confess that I'm behind on my week 6 paper. I think I already told you that, right?
That's fine. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, as like I said, I take late work up to week 12 without any penalty. And really, to be honest, my goal here is you guys need to learn this stuff and understand this stuff, but you also need to have time to soak this in, because we're talking 13 weeks to learn stuff that, plus do a project that really can't be fully grasped in 13 weeks, if we're being honest, right? We're just laying the framework for your understanding for a topic that, if you choose to go on with this, will take years to master and fully understand. So if you guys are going to look into if you guys are going to make databases a career, which I think is a great career choice, because it's honestly my career choice. It's one of those great careers that will never be obsolete, because there's always data. I don't know if I went through with you guys, but like, if you ever think about it, like how much data is being collected per minute now. I don't know if I talked about this earlier. I just talked about like week 1 or 2. People have got smartwatches, they've got smartphones, they've got tablets, they've got laptops, they've got desktop computers, they've got Fitbits, they've got scales that tell you what and they all broadcast this data everywhere. There is so much data circling the planet right now. There's like petabytes of data, and no one's analyzing it. They don't know what to do it. They call it the so you're all familiar with the cloud, right? When they call it the cloud. Anyone hear the term the mist before?
Nope.
So the mist is referring to all that uncategorized, undocumented data that's surrounding the cloud. So every time like your Apple Watch sends data somewhere, that goes into the mist. It goes into a database somewhere that Apple or someone is grabbing. Like anytime you watch something on Hulu, there's at least 6 places recording what you've watched on Hulu. There used to be, I don't know if way back in the day, Microsoft Media Player. In it, does anyone here ever read EULAs and user licensing agreements?
Until my eyes grow fur, and then I have to quit.
Yeah. They're interesting because in the EULA for Microsoft Media Player back in the late 90s, early 2000s, it said anything you listen to, we will monitor anything you listen to, and we'll use that information to further our sales and other sales for other companies. It basically said it was going to take anything you listen to and report it to everybody. And the other one was, there was one that if you ever, this is back in the day, but there was like when you did the file sharing stuff, it basically said that any bandwidth you're not using, it will use when you're not using it. So it would eat up your bandwidth. EULA and all Microsoft and EULAs have somewhere that like, if our software breaks your computer, we'll pay you $5. So anywho, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. That's I was when I was a developer and I was writing code. I was just doing the little widgets, applications, little small ones. But in my EULAs were always like, you must send me a Reese's peanut butter cup by the 25th of every month, or you owe me $10 million. EULAs, it's very important. I mean, just skim through them. I get to the point like at the fill where you're like, it gets when there's so many words there. But yeah, you kind of got to look through it, because sometimes there's stuff hidden in there that you kind of want to know.
I turned in my week 5 paper with the updated ERD. I